Hi everyone, my name's Chris Croft and I've got 14 minutes to tell you what I know about careers. My life's been pretty crazy. I worked as an engineer, a manager, a university lecturer. Now I'm a freelance trainer. And I'm going to try and tell you what I wish I'd known when I started out in my career. And I'm going to tell you about 7 things on here. And the first one is experiment. So what I would say is just experiment with as many different types of job as you can. Just volunteer to work for nothing for a week, doing everything you can think of, because you never know, you might love it. And even if you hate it, you'll then have eliminated something from your list. So take every opportunity that comes along. If you hear that somebody wants help in their company or there's a job going at a friend's company, take it. It might be good, in which case you found something that you like. It might be bad, in which case you found something you don't like. But either way, that's progress. And similarly, volunteer. Don't wait for them to come to you, but go to them and say, I'd like to help with that, or I notice you're doing this, can I get involved? Volunteer your time, because you'll not only gain experience by doing that, but you'll also gain contacts. You'll meet more people, and that can lead to all sorts of job opportunities later. You'll find that things always lead to other things and people always lead to other people. So just start the chain off anywhere and see where it goes. And it's really important to realise you don't have to worry too much about your first job, because your first job won't be your final job. Your first job could go anywhere. And I bet you'll be doing something totally different in 10 years' time and something totally different again in 20 years' time. So don't worry too much about your career, unless you're doing something like being a doctor where you absolutely have to plan it from the start and get trained up. But any commercial or management job, it can go anywhere. So all you want to do first of all is find something that you enjoy and start doing that. Now, my second point on here is, sorry about my drawing, it's not very good, is the idea that you can change lane. You don't have to pick a lane and be in it for your whole life. So I would say be prepared to do a number of different jobs during your career. And the first thing about that is don't settle for something that you're not happy with. So if you're doing a job that's quite easy, reasonably well paid, you're quite good at it, but it doesn't excite you, then change jobs, look for something else. Or if it's quite easy and fun, but you're not learning, then that's not good enough either. You've got to keep searching for that job that excites you. And one more thing about changing lane, just while I'm on that, is that if you've got a horrible boss or you don't like the culture of your company, then leave. Don't put up with working somewhere where you don't feel happy. If your boss is a bully or not very nice, then you're too good for that. So you should start looking for another job. Maybe don't resign until you've found another job, but be prepared to experiment, because there are quite a few bosses in this world who are just amateurs. They're just not very good at it. And if you get one of those, move on, because you deserve a decent boss. Now, the third thing I want to say, I've got 100% and 40% written in here. And the first thing I want to say is put 100% effort into your work. Now, this is both at school and when you get a job. Don't be one of these people who tries to do the minimum and get away with it. Put in 100%. Work as hard as you can. Do the best job you can. And you're mainly doing this for yourself, because you want to do work that you're proud of, that you feel good about. But also do it for your job security, because you're much safer in a job if you're working hard and you're doing good work, clearly. But thirdly, do it for your customers. Do it because you're making a difference to whoever your customers are. And then finally, and I'm going to put a dotted line because it's least important, do it for your boss, to make your boss happy. But for all these reasons, work hard, and then you'll find you'll get better results, you'll get more praise and thanks from your boss, but you'll also enjoy yourself more. So work really hard. But I don't want this to take over your life. So if you looked at your whole life, here is you putting 100% into your work, but outside work is just as important. So I think your job should be about 40% of your time and your effort in your life. And then the other 60% should be on the things that you want to do, family, friends, activities, whatever it is you like doing outside work. So you don't want your career to start to become 90% of your life and to be squeezing these things. But you also don't want your career to only be 5% of your life and something you don't really care about, because you are spending 5 days a week doing it. So it's important. And during those 5 days, we're going to be giving 100%. Now, if you don't really like your job and you don't want to give 100% to it, then clearly you've got to keep looking for another job. But we have to find a way to earn our living that we enjoy, because then working really hard doesn't feel like work. Now, number 4 on my list of things I want to tell you about is something called Ikigai. You can Google this if you want to know more about it. But the idea of Ikigai is that you should start with what you enjoy doing. So think about, what do you like doing that you could possibly earn a living from? And then overlapping with that, you look for the things that you're good at. Now, I like playing the saxophone, but I'm not good at it. So that's already out. You've got to find something you enjoy doing and that you're good at. So once you've got that overlap, the third thing to look for is things that make a difference. So you might, for example, enjoy playing computer games, and you might be good at it, but does it make a difference to anybody else? Is it something that will improve people's lives, and therefore which they will pay for? So the fourth one is things you can get paid for. But you're not going to be paid for it unless it makes a difference to people's lives, which incidentally also will be more satisfying for you, because you'll know you're making a difference to people's lives, and that feels good. So what we're looking for is something right in the middle here that we like doing, we're good at, that makes a difference and we can get paid for. And you need to do them in this order. So start with enjoy, then think, am I good at it? Then think, does it make a difference? And finally, will I get paid for it? The money comes last, and it will look after itself. You don't really have to even think about that, because if you're good at it and it makes a difference to other people, you will get paid for it. That'll be fine. So really, you don't want to think too much about the money. So the money, I would say, is not the first thing you should think about, because money won't make you happy. All right, so I'm going to say money will not make you happy. Now, I haven't really got time to explain that, but what I will say is the price you pay to earn more money will outweigh the happiness you get from the money. So having more money will make you a bit happier, but unfortunately the price you pay will make you less happy, and overall you'll be less happy. So money doesn't make you happy. And if there is a job that's being offered to you that has a lot of money, then you have to wonder why they're offering you so much money for that job. And it probably means that it's a really tough job, and they have to offer lots of money to get you to do it. So I would be highly suspicious of a very well-paid job. Now, there is a tiny chance that for that job they need a rare skill that only you've got, and that's great. But usually it means there's something wrong with it if it's very well paid. So don't really think too much about money to start with. Focus on things you enjoy, things you're good at, and things that make a difference. Now, number 5 on my list, I've got this face with a question mark. And this is, you might be thinking, yeah, but I don't know what I like. I don't know what I'm good at. I don't know. And I felt this when I was a teenager. Everyone else said, oh, I want to be an astronaut or a physicist, or I want to be a chef, or whatever it was. They already knew. And I just didn't. I remember thinking, well, yeah, but what am I going to do? And it took me years to find out that actually giving talks is what I love doing. It took me years to find that. So how can you find out more about yourself? And the first thing you could do is personality tests. I don't think they're brilliant, but they're worth a try. I think mine, when I did my career test, it told me to join the army, which would have been a terrible idea. But you never know, it might give you some ideas that you could look into. So personality tests are a possibility. I think it'd be interesting also just to make a list of possible jobs, and then just think about what the pros and cons are of those jobs. So just start thinking about why some jobs appeal to you and others don't. And you can start to work out what it is that's important to you in a job. Is it creativity? Is it that it's sociable? Is it that there's lots of maths or design or freedom? Perhaps you like a job where you can drive around and meet new people, like a sales job. But what is it about jobs, some jobs that appeal to you and other jobs that don't? And you can start thinking about that. Although, remember what I said earlier about you won't really know till you try them. I've heard people say, oh, it's really boring working in an office, surely. And the answer is, it really isn't. So you won't know till you try it. But you can start thinking about why some jobs appeal to you and others don't. Another thing to think about at this point is types of organisation as well as types of job. So rather than getting bogged down on whether you want to be an engineer or a chef, You can also start thinking about, do I want to work for a big company or a small company? Do I want to work for a multinational company? Do I want to work for an IT type of company? Because within these companies, there are lots of different jobs. Even something like, say, the police or the National Health Service, there are all kinds of jobs. You're still going to have, for example, accountants in every organisation. So what type of organisation do you want to work for, as well as what type of job might you want to do? So when I first started, I worked for Western Helicopters, and I was really interested in the product because I thought helicopters were exciting and interesting. And once I got there, I realised that actually I didn't really care about the helicopters. I was interested in the manufacturing side of why are they always late? Why do we keep running out of parts? Why does it take so long to make things? And we could have been making anything. We could have been making fridge freezers. It didn't really matter. So I think I'm going to put an X against product because quite often the product doesn't matter. Now, some people worked for Westlands because they really did love helicopters and that was a big deal to them. But quite often the product doesn't really matter. It's what you're going to do in the process of making whatever it is. So don't get too hung up on the product initially. And then a really big bit of advice when you're trying to understand yourself is ask other people. So you can ask other people about you and you can say, what do you think I would be good at? Because often they can see you more clearly than you can see yourself. But you can also ask other people about them. And you can ask them about the job that they do. And you can ask them, what are the pros and cons of the job that you do? What do you like, what don't you like about being a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer or whatever it might be, or a manager? So ask them about the pros and cons of their job. And then you can start to get a feel for whether it would suit you. And finally, if there is someone who you admire, you could ask them to be your mentor. And you could ask them if you could meet with them every now and then and ask for advice, run ideas past them. Ideally somebody who lives near you, or if you're thinking about being a doctor, if you could get to know a doctor, if you know one, that would be really, really useful. So there are some thoughts to try to work out what potential is inside your own head. Now, the next thing I'd like to say is I would strongly recommend that you consider self-employment. Perhaps work for a company first to get a feel for how things work and then go self-employed. Have it in your mind as a future career. Because if you work for a company, they're always going to be making a profit on your time. And they're always going to be looking for the cheapest person they can find to do that job. But once you're self-employed, there's no cap on your earnings. If you're good at what you do, there's no limit to how much you can earn, and you've got freedom. So for some people, including me, self-employment is absolutely brilliant. And I just want to show you a diagram now of the 6 types of job. So you can see the first question is, do you want to work for yourself or for a company? And if you do want to work for yourself, are you going to employ other people and build up a big company and sell it, hopefully for millions one day? That's quite difficult, by the way. I wouldn't do that till you've been working for other people for at least 10 years, so you really know how business works. Or option 2, is it going to be a lifestyle business where you just have something that you do? And it could be anything from window cleaning to running training courses. It could be art, music, anything, where you're just selling your time for money. If you're going to work for a company, then the questions are, do you want to retire early? Because you want to try to plan pretty early for that. You're probably going to have to work harder for a shorter time. But retiring early is a possible plan. I wouldn't particularly recommend that one, but it's there. If you're going to work your whole life, then what kind of work do you want to do? Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to work your way up the tree, becoming more and more senior and earning more money, but perhaps having more stress as a manager? Or do you want to do functional work? So this would be something like a lawyer or an engineer or some sort of job where it's not about management. It might be something that you really enjoy, that's a vocation. So teaching, music would be vocations. Being a doctor or a nurse would be a vocation. Some would say being an engineer is a vocation. Or are you going to do a job where you just try to minimize the amount of time and effort you spend on work so you can maximize the time you spend in your personal life? Now, I've already said I don't really recommend that. I think your work should be 40% of your life and your energy. So I don't think you should be trying to push it down to 10, but it is an option that you've got. And on this second diagram, you can see I've drawn them out with money and happiness. So climbing the corporate ladder and being a manager is potentially really well paid, but probably won't make you happy because it's going to be quite stressful and you're going to probably have to work quite long hours. At the other end of the happiness, you've got a vocation, finding a job that you love, like being a doctor or musician or whatever. But that may not be great for money. Doctors are well paid, but most vocations like teaching or nursing are not particularly well paid because they know that you want to do it. You can see retiring early is perhaps not going to be great for the money, but at least you can get some time. You could go for the easy job and the fun outside. That's not going to be great for the money, but it's pretty good for happiness. And then the two self-employed options, you've got selling off your company. Now that's not going to be very happy at the time because you're going to be working really hard to do that, but potentially it's a lot of money. And then there's the lifestyle business, which is probably the best compromise of happiness and money. I think the only way you can really earn decent money and be happy is to have a lifestyle business, some skill, some trade where you sell your time for money. And with that, you've got the choice of going more towards the money end or more towards the happiness end. But if you are going to be self-employed, you need to know that you have to have something that you can do, whether it's training or electrical wiring or building work or art or music or something. You have to have some trade, and also you have to be able to sell. So you have to be able to do and sell. Those are the things you'll need if you're going to be self-employed. Now, my final picture is an arrow pointing to your head. And that's because everything really depends on what you've got in your head. These days, physical strength is irrelevant. It's all about knowledge. So it's really important to develop your skills as soon as you can, mainly while you're still at school. So learn the commercial skills you're going to need. So we've already mentioned selling, and negotiating is another skill that's really important. By the way, you can read books about these, you can go on courses. I've made various video courses you can download from places like udemy.com or LinkedIn Learning. But anyway, you need to learn about leadership. I'll put leadership/management, basically how to manage people. And there are lots of things you can do to motivate people, etc. So leadership and management, you have to study that, you have to read some books on that. Influencing is part of all of that. And influencing, it's related to selling, but it's subtly different. For example, there's a book by Cialdini, which is really funny and really good on influencing. So you need to know about influencing. Then you need to know about project management and time management, the task type areas. So how to plan something big and complicated and how to organize yourself every day. You need to know about all of these, and I would strongly recommend learning about them. I'm going to add one more actually as well, which is problem solving. Because in interviews, they will be looking for these skills. And if you've got evidence of actually using them, that's great. If you could say, well, in my spare time, I organise trips for disabled children to go canoeing, and I use my project management skills that I've learned, and I have, here's my Gantt chart that I've drawn, or I've negotiated accommodation for them, and I used what I've learned in a particular book. If you can show you've studied it and you've used it, interviewers will love that. So it's really important to develop what's in your head, because in the end, that will determine your whole life. Right, that's all we've got time for. Hope it's been useful. Please do check out my website and follow me on LinkedIn. I hope this has been useful. Good luck with your careers, everybody. Bye for now.